Hello, and welcome to today's Human Capital Matters series, an interactive business event and conversation focusing on developing and communicating the business continuity plan. I'd like to thank you for joining us. My name is Bo Birch, and I will be your host and facilitator for today's segment. Please make note of our chat box feature. I'm sure most of us now are quite familiar with Zoom, maybe too familiar with Zoom. Should you have specific questions or comments, we would certainly appreciate you sharing them with us today and send them through the chat portal. Our firm, Human Capital Solutions, has a dedicated email address established, so you may also forward questions and comments about today's topic to workingremotely@humancs.com. That dedicated email is workingremotely@humancs.com. Be sure to follow our LinkedIn page at Human Capital Solutions, Inc. for upcoming events and more Human Capital Matters segments. The next is scheduled for June 4th with our friend Miss Kara Julian. Kara is CHRO of Americold Logistics, and she will be our guest speaker for the June 4th segment. We're very fortunate to have with us today three impressive female executives with ChannelAdvisor: Miss Beth Segovia, Miss Melissa Hickam, and Miss Ali Zelmat. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. It really is a pleasure to welcome you to Human Capital Matters. First of all, a little bit about Beth. Beth is the Chief Operating Officer. She oversees general operations, of course, services, product, and engineering, and human resources globally. Previously, Beth was the VP of Global Services, where she led ChannelAdvisor's global services team, including implementation, technical support, account management, and services. These customer-facing teams provide technical support, industry expertise, and consultative services to help their clients achieve their commerce objectives. Also introducing Melissa Hickam. Melissa is the Senior Human Resource Business Partner with ChannelAdvisor and has been with ChannelAdvisor for the past 4 years. Melissa has an interesting and impressive HR background spanning nearly 20 years, holding positions in recruiting, training, and development, consultation, and strategic HR business roles. Melissa has supported international teams in Europe, Asia, Africa, North and South America, along with Australia. Also, very happy to introduce Ali Zelmat. Ali is ChannelAdvisor's Director of Global Support, and she oversees technical support for clients and internal users. Ali has spent about 20 years in key support roles, 15 of them in management roles. Ali has a degree in accounting and business, and she is quite fanatical about making data-driven decisions to create efficient and effective workflows for her teams, and also developing talent to their full potential. Welcome again, ladies. Our first question goes out to Beth. Beth, we have found many organizations did not actually have a formal business continuity plan prior to the pandemic. Please share with us, why do you think ChannelAdvisor did, and why did you guys have a business continuity plan in place? How did that come to be?
Thanks, Bo. So, ChannelAdvisor provides an IT solution, which includes a software platform to our customers. So it's been really important since our inception that we have disaster recovery plans in place to protect our clients and our business to ensure operations. Early on, as we had formed as a business, there was an incident where our founder and our then COO were managing a system outage, and it was during our busiest holiday season. That outage was pretty chaotic. Too many cooks in the kitchen, lack of clear leadership to track progress, and the solution honestly took longer to solve than it should have. Our then COO, who's now the CEO of our company, David Spitz, is a volunteer fireman, and for years he had designed, implemented practice protocols for managing incident scenarios. And that experience really taught him that you have to define roles for an incident management team, you have to define processes to be followed, and you have to have a plan for communications, and then you have to practice to make sure the team is ready. He applied that experience to have our team create our first formal continuity plan, which was really designed again around those system and customer outages. Over time, our plan has evolved to include things like natural disasters, right? One of our locations is very close to the North Carolina coast, so there is a hurricane now and then, so we need to make sure that we can continue to operate even if there's some other kind of an incident happened. So I would say we had a pretty solid plan in place going into this pandemic. I think none of us would have foreseen that we would have had a situation that would have impacted all of our sites. We have 8 sites in 7 countries around the world at the same time. And so this scenario has actually really caused us to really test our plan and practice probably more thoroughly than we have in the past. Our plan has a couple of different facets that I'll share with you. So first, we have an executive owner. So that's me as COO. I provide assurance to our employees, our clients, our shareholders that the executive leadership team is involved as we manage through the situation. We have a defined business continuity plan leader. That's Ali, who's with us today, who's normally our global head of support. This leader specifically runs the business incident team so that the people involved in the team can do the work that we need to have done to carry out whatever needs to happen as a result of the incident. We have a specific team that has individuals from important functions that have to ensure your business continuity. So not every function is required, but certainly we needed HR, legal, MIS, facilities, operations to make sure that we could manage through decisions that needed to be made. And then we have an intentional communication plan. So it's been important for us to maintain communications internally and externally as we proceed through the plan execution to make sure that obviously everyone is aware of what they need to be. And then finally, we get together. So we do daily stand-ups. We have a group chat that's constantly going, and we're always monitoring the news, what's happening with local government regulations, what's happening internally in our company around the offices, so we can quickly make decisions and execute.
That's excellent, Beth. Very comprehensive. So it sounds like our go-to person may be Ali here. Ali, how did you specifically structure the business continuity plan at ChannelAdvisor?
Oh, I think any solid business continuity plan has to start with understanding the purpose, and that's to be prepared and able to return to operations as quickly as possible in the event of an outage. And we have to plan for the worst case scenario while obviously hoping that it never occurs. So the first thing we have to have is a playbook. We create a playbook that's both virtual and printed. You never know, the internet could be down. You don't want to rely on just a Google Doc to search for someone's phone number. We define the purpose of the plan and the team members responsible for carrying out their roles, along with at least one backup for each critical leader in the company and each member of the business continuity team. As a result of COVID-19, we actually extended that to a second backup for every role when we began to think through the potential infection rate impact. And we've included in that playbook a cheat sheet of everyone's mobile contact number that we carry around with us. The next step is having a communication plan, as Beth mentioned earlier. So we define some communication protocols that includes emails, phone, chat, a pager software, and we lay out a basic checklist to follow in the event of an incident, including who to contact and next steps to take in certain types of emergencies. It's important too to also document each type of disaster or incident that you might expect, because they might require a different response. And so we've documented those we can imagine or we think are likely or highly impactful to occur. We had each business unit also assess their plan to return to operations in the event of an outage. For example, account management would probably have an entirely different plan than the engineering team. And we also identified critical roles within the company, and we made sure that there were at least 2 other resources that can perform that function and have appropriate documentation. Now, the playbook takes a long time to develop, and it needs to be a living document. We review it periodically, and we update it for current people, current processes, current technologies. I would say don't assume you can do this in a week. We're still reassessing portions of this plan 8 weeks into this quote unquote incident. And the last thing, and Beth mentioned this a bit in her last question is you have to practice your response. So just like any first responder team, it's best to have practiced the steps regularly so that you can call them to mind under the stress of a real incident. So we'll create fake issue scenarios to walk through on a regular cadence, and it helps us build muscle memory of how to call up the team and respond to those very critical first steps. And then from there, we can go back to the documentation and work our way through the plan.
Fascinating, Ali. Yeah, thank you for sharing the details. And we have found not a lot of companies actually had a business continuity plan. So kudos to you guys. Let's go to Melissa. Melissa, as the senior HR business partner, it sounds like you also quickly came together with the team to design and implement ChannelAdvisor's business continuity plan. What were the immediate employee-facing actions, Melissa, that you took?
Yeah, thank you. Great question, because, you know, we have this body of employees all over the globe and we needed to take care of them. So our first thing was we wanted to get ahead of the stay-at-home orders that were coming to the US. So we noted that the authorities in Madrid, where we actually have an office, already started suggesting that employers close their offices. So our BCP team got together, and within 30 minutes, they went ahead and decided that we needed to protect our staff and pull everyone out of the offices. And, you know, we're a technology company, so that was okay for us to do. We felt like it was our responsibility in the community to pull our employees out if we were able to. And they felt really confident that they would be just as productive at home. So we trusted them, and it worked really well for us. So the very first thing that happened within that decision-making process, within about 24 hours, our CEO sent an email to all staff and pulled them out of the office and said we would support full work from home. And we carefully outlined this communication and support plan. It wasn't just an email, right? It included focus groups, webinars, toolkits, daily communication from Ali and Beth. And our top priority was really to ensure that the employees felt safe and that they had the resources to do their job. So that first week, we were all home. It was kind of crazy. I actually co-hosted focus groups with our CEO, with employees from all over the globe at all different levels. We wanted to foster an intimate environment where they could ask questions of the CEO, calm some of their nerves, and see that he was calm and collected so they could also be calm and collected. They really appreciated it.
Excellent, Melissa. I feel the energy and enthusiasm behind your plans and your blueprint, or as Ali would say, the playbook, right?
Yeah.
So Ali, a question for you. Melissa certainly mentioned quite a bit in her response about daily communications. Ali, what do you think is a reasonable and effective level of communications for employees during an extended crisis as such?
Certainly in the beginning, I think you can't communicate too much. At the start, we tried to ensure we were messaging our employees about once a day and with gaps of no more than a day with no messages from us. We probably did a couple of messages a day in the first 2 weeks. There was just a ton of information that we needed to convey, and that it made sense for us to have different emails for each change or piece of information so that we didn't create confusion. We also tried to intersperse what we've called hug emails every few days, just to let employees know we empathize with them, we know it's hard, they're amazing, and we appreciate them. Once we got to the point of officially closing all of our offices, I'd say we settled into a cadence of 1 to 2 messages per week, and those center around 3 major themes. The first is just logistical issues, such as how to get the equipment you need from the office or how to use a certain tool. The second was status of the business. People want to know that they're going to still have a job. And so we wanted to reassure employees the business is still functioning, and we communicated our analysis of the external factors that were impacting us. And the third area is really HR updates. So that was changes to policies, available resources such as employee assistance programs, and recommendations on how to adjust to working from home. We made sure to intersperse these themes on a regular cadence. Generally, I'd say we hit on at least 2 of these every week. And then about halfway through of this time period, about 4 weeks in, I would say we moved to a more forward-looking information. such as how to have stamina over the long term, because for sure this is exhausting, working from home and being on video calls all the time, and what we think the long-term future of the company is given the impact of the pandemic. So we surveyed our employees about a week into our work from home and again after 8 weeks, and the results were really clear. 95% of our employees were happy with our level of communication. So I would say frequent communication combined with transparency is the key. And lastly, I'd highlight that very early on, we realized we were just snow plowing information at our employees. And I don't know about you, if I have to search email, there's just tens of thousands of emails in my history. So we wanted to create just a place where we could store all of this information that people could go back to and reference. So we spun up a really simple Google site, and we've posted all of our communications, all of the HR documents and references, and all of the resources that we have pulled together on how to collaborate and how to work from home.
Ali, very well engineered and well communicated. Thank you for sharing the detail. Let's move over to Beth. Beth, it sounds like ChannelAdvisor took a multifaceted approach to transition employees to a new work from home model and a very strategic approach to implementing the business continuity plan. How would you suggest companies best transition employees to a work from home model, Beth, when that was not the normal core of the business model?
Sure, Bo. So, we had a flexibility process or policy before this, but we didn't really have a large number of our staff working from home. So as we contemplated needing to do this, our intention from the start was to keep the employee safety as our top priority. And we really used that to govern our decision-making as we went through our thought process. So first and foremost, we realized that it'd be safer for our employees to work from home. And so we had to assess whether they could. So we thought through what equipment do they have available to them? Were there any inhibitors to that? And we very quickly allowed them to take anything they needed from the office home. So their PCs, their docks, their monitors, cameras, their desks, desk chairs if they needed them. And if they had standing desks, we allowed them to take them as well. We also really quickly expanded our expense policy to make sure that any expenses an employee would incur from working from home that would have been unusual or directly related to that work from home, we enabled them to get reimbursed by the company. So first and foremost, we assessed whether they could work from home, and then we enabled them to make sure that they were productive. Once we got them home, we had to think through how do we keep them productive. So we provided them tools and support, especially as children started to join us at home as daycares and schools closed. We leveraged Zoom conferencing, as so many of us are doing now, and we chose as a company to be video on as our preferred approach for all meetings. We want to make sure we feel and stay connected with each other. As leaders, we have regular informal meetings with our team. So we wanted to replace that feeling of walking around and seeing everyone. So we're having fireside chats or town halls or ask me anything sessions, just to enable that connection again from employees with the leadership. And finally, we really spent a lot of time encouraging our teams to find a new routine. This world is new, and suddenly our offices are in our bedrooms or our living rooms, and your computer is right there. You could literally work 24 hours if you wanted to. And so we want our employees to find that balance and that break between work and life. We also want them to find breaks so that they take care of their whole person, right? So they take care of their mental health, they get exercise, they get out of that chair, and they do the right thing, right? And as Ali mentioned, we do talk a lot about stamina, right? How will we sustain this moving forward? And so we're always thinking about how do we enable them for the long haul. I would say, by taking the approach of putting our employees first, we've had really very little disruption. Clients are reporting that their ChannelAdvisor teams haven't missed a beat. Employees report they're productive, collaboration is high, and they feel as though the leadership team cares about them. We just surveyed them, as Ali mentioned, and 80% of them said they would like to work from home at least 1 to 2 days a week ongoing, and 30% of them want to do this full time. So we've proven it's worked, and now we're actually challenging ourselves to see if we can enable it as an ongoing business model.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Beth. Melissa, tell us what are some ideas, things you've observed and practices perhaps that you could share with organizations and how they may initiate and sustain high performance work systems and keen focus.
Yeah, so most of us are like that 2 month in on this work from home model, and a key area of focus is to help our employees sustain that stamina to keep it going from home. So we've really found out that there's 2 key things. You have to maintain business as normal and over communicate. And so both of those things come down to trusting your staff. And, you know, I'm in HR, so I love an acronym. So I created an acronym to help focus on this model, and it's the TRUST acronym. And so the first part of maintaining that stamina is talking to your employees. Talk to them about what's going on. Even if things are uncertain and maybe you don't know all the answers, silence from executives and senior leaders can really cause anxiety and lower your productivity level. So provide those regular updates. Throw in some hug emails that we talked about before. You know, the employees want to see what your work from home space is like and see how you're doing too. So throw them some pictures. The next part is relax, right? And so employees are looking to you of how to respond in this situation. So you want to stay calm, collected, and focused, and they will likely mirror that response. And third, which I think is really, really critical here, is upskill your staff and keep them engaged. So a recent survey by PwC found that 77% of CEOs feel like they need more creativity to reinvent their business during times of interruption. So be intentional about upskilling your workforce and teaching them how to adapt to change. That adaptability is going to be your best friend. Like I said, be intentional, establish those remote work practices. One thing that we did was we gave people managers a lot of support early on. We had webinars, job aids, meetings about how to transition to managing remotely. That was really, really helpful. And then the fourth aspect of demonstrating that trust with your employees is to share information, right? We talk about over communicating, but that also includes sharing information. So this will help them be productive because you are maintaining your business reviews. You're maintaining those sales stand-ups. You're having team meetings, and you're still chasing that sales leaderboards with your sales teams. The more information you can give, the better they'll be able to service the client. And lastly, the T in trust is tools. Ensure that they have all of the tools they need to be productive at work. And that's not just about the technology or the equipment that they need. It's also fostering space for them to maintain and grow their workplace relationships, as well as mental health resources. And May just happens to be Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we actually dedicated an entire section on our BCP to mental health awareness and treating that whole person, like Beth mentioned earlier. You know, our employees were feeling like they really wanted to help others that were in need. And so we created a list of volunteer activities or volunteer resources in every city that were located, so they could go out and see how they could help in their community. And in Raleigh, we partnered with the the North Carolina Health Association, and we raised over $18,000 in donations from ChannelAdvisor. It was really spectacular. So sustaining performance at this time is not just ensuring that the employees are being productive, but letting them know we have their back and we're here to help them along the way. So, you know, I mentioned that machine has to keep moving. It's critical to keep the business moving. I think, Beth, maybe you have some really good ideas that you shared with our business earlier on how to sustain focus on that client aspect of it.
Yeah, I think, you know, certainly we wanted to make sure our employees were motivated and engaged. That was a key priority for us. But we also quickly realized that our clients needed us more than ever at this time. So our software enables e-commerce, and many of our customers have retail stores, and those brick and mortar retail stores were being closed, sales were being impacted, employees were being furloughed, and they really quickly needed to grow their online transactions so that their businesses could stay afloat. And ChannelAdvisor is a solution that addresses that problem, can really offer a way with digital strategies to help them recover. So this fact that we had an incredibly relevant value proposition just really energized our employees. our employees engaged with customers to solve super real business problems right now. And that, of course, was naturally motivating. We formed a dedicated team of employees that worked with to understand what was happening in the industry, to share that news, to offer our own reactions, and to develop advice. So we were blogging, we were doing case studies with clients, and we also formed a team to provide relief for clients. So customers that were really struggling, we worked with them on their payment terms, on their contracts, and really helped make sure they could weather the storm. So, you know, I think the lesson in there is realizing that we could be part of the solution to a problem that was created by this pandemic helped us focus our team on getting back to business, right? It's an incredible distracting time. People have anxiety, they're worried, they've got relatives that are maybe ill. And so the notion that our customers needed us and we could help was incredibly centering and motivating for our employees.
Very powerful. Beth, Melissa, thank you for that. We are certainly built and designed for purpose. And I'm just so gratified to hear that your associates were keenly looking at your customers who needed them more than ever in the most challenging times that many of us perhaps will ever see in our lifetime. Great job, ladies. We could take a look at the chat portal. If you have questions, sending through the Zoom chat portal. You can also email workingremotely@humancs.com. I think there is a question that has come in. Who would like to grab that question?
So I think that I can take that question. So the question is, you know, as leaders starting to think about our return to work strategy, what are some of the things that we should consider? We're really in the middle of that assessment right now. It's a dramatically evolving landscape. We think we know what's happening, and then tomorrow it'll be completely different. So we first are looking at, do we need to return? And if we do, when? The second is, what's expected of us as an employer? So, you know, do we need to return? First, we're considering our own employees' population and their desire to return to the office. We've surveyed the team and asked them to get their feedback on whether they want to return to the office quickly, maybe somewhere in the middle range, or later on at the end of the curve. And that feedback is helping us to understand how quickly we should move back to the office. And we've also asked them what would inhibit them from returning, such as access to safe public transportation, childcare, as well as their own personal risk level and their fear of returning. And to be honest, a very small fraction of our employee population wants to get back to the office really fast. The vast majority want to wait it out. We've also considered how well we're working right now. We've maintained effective operations, and we've got a high level of productivity and really low rates of illness. And we know, based on all the information we're seeing, that when we return to the office, the incidence of infection is likely to go up. And that's going to obviously result in those employees being taken out of the productive workforce while they recover. So we're considering, you know, returning to the office in phases where we can potentially support those who really need a better workspace sooner, and, you know, phase in from there. It's also really important for us to understand, you know, we're in 7 countries, 8 offices. We need to understand the local regulations and make sure that we're meeting those. And in every locale, we are responsible for providing a safe workspace. So until we can do that, we need to hold off. And so we're doing a lot of the work now to determine how can we ensure a safe workspace, whether that is, you know, temperature checks and PPE, or rotation schedules of how many people can be in the office at any given time.
Excellent response, Ali. Certainly a testament of making sure your associates know how much they're valued so they can be cared for, and they can then be keenly focused on taking care of your customer. Excellent response. Is there another question that's come in?
So there is, Bo. I see one here, and I'll take this one. So it says, you know, business continuity is often paired with disaster recovery. Does your plan also cover natural disasters? And the answer is yes. So I was actually just doing another review of our business continuity playbook today, and we have thought through a number of different scenarios, as Ali was describing earlier. So there's certainly software outages, which we probably built that one first. That one was the easiest for us. But we've thought about what happens if our office is inaccessible. So that could mean a fire, a hurricane. What happens, we actually have a pandemic scenario. So what happens if your employee base is suddenly unavailable, or a large number of them? So what do you do? And what happens if that's localized versus the situation we have right now, which is obviously stressing the plan where it's globalized. So we've actually really thought through what those what ifs are. So as Ali said, we've tried to think about what is the worst case scenario. So what are the what ifs? And then how does our plan need to change as a result of that? So what if it's a natural disaster, our headquarter location is now unavailable? How do we launch the plan and continue operations leveraging our other site locations? Those kind of situations.
Excellent. Thank you, Beth. Another question?
Yeah, that's a really interesting
Yeah,
question.
I'll take this one.
Go ahead, Melissa.
Yeah.
Please, definitely.
So this is a great question. We're a global team. The question is, any feedback from your overseas offices? So we have offices in Germany, London, Madrid, Limerick, Australia. I'm sure I'm missing a couple locations there, but they are so appreciative of the transparency. So their feedback to us is that they appreciate that we're taking extra precautions even ahead of some of the business and government regulations. And so although those people are wanting to get back to business as normal too, they're really thankful, because a lot of our offices are in cities where they rely on public transportation, and folks just aren't comfortable getting back on that yet. And so again, the transparency has gone a long way. Sometimes it does feel, when you're in normal business operations, that you're headquarter centric, but in this situation, they really feel like we are showing up as a global organization that represents every office.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that if I could. We have found sort of a renewed or a new intimacy in our relationships with our employees. So because we see where we live, right? We see where we live, where we work. We see our animals, our pets, our children are involved in our Zoom meetings. I think it's actually made us really connected, and we've also gained an appreciation. Our folks in Europe who live in smaller spaces. I had a meeting with a sales rep the other day, and he took the call from a closet, and I was like, "What are you doing in the closet?" And he was like, "I've got 3 kids. It's chaos here." And we had a laugh, and now we'll always have a different relationship as a result of that just one moment where we interacted. So I think our global connection is stronger, which is an unexpected pleasure.
It always works better if we parents get in the closet versus putting the kids in the closet, right?
That's always a better plan.
Always a Great. More questions. Folks are very interested in continuing the conversation.
All right, let's see. So do we see any roles in our organization changing or even being eliminated due to changes created by the pandemic? So I haven't considered that one yet. So I think certainly we've confirmed that this business continuity team is super important and something that we will now make, we knew we needed it before, and we practiced it with certain types of incidents, and we certainly know that that is a critical function, and we want to continue to do that. I don't think we've discovered anything that we would want to eliminate in terms of roles. We've really we discovered for sure that we had a few critical roles where we had singular resources, and we thought, okay, that's a problem. And so we went through and we identified within our current staff, we didn't have time to hire new people. We identified backups, we documented, we did training, and we did all that while this pandemic was happening to make sure that we had role coverage. You don't always think about that when you're a smaller company. In particular, you may have one person that generally files all of your accounting documentation, or and that becomes a problem. You may have 1 or 2 people that run payroll. Well, what if they're both sick? So we started really thinking about backup systems and making sure that we had enough knowledge that we captured within the company to continue operations. So I think that's an important thing to consider. I'll hand it off to my colleagues and see if they have anything else they would add.
No, I think that was pretty comprehensive, Beth.
Okay, great. There's another question here, so why don't you take a shot at it, Melissa?
All right, what was the most unexpected, pleasant surprise coming from this experience? I think Beth touched on it a little bit, but we just found this new closeness as an organization. So we're globally, and now we're all home and we're scared, we're not going to see people in the office, but we've actually become closer. So a lot of folks have reported that in our surveys, and they've reported that in conversations and focus groups. They feel like they know more behind the scenes. So for example, they know, okay, around this time is when, Jane Doe is going to start feeding her dog. So I'm not going to do a conference call then because the dog's going to start getting whiny. Or, Beth shared a story with us the other day about our CEO. He shared with us a photo of his work from home space the first week, which was like this uncomfortable chair that had been passed down from his grandmother and, kind of in this like closeted dark room. And today he has got the full ergonomic setup. He's got lights to give him that awesome lighting, microphone to give him the super sweet CEO voice. And so that's been a fun thing that we've been doing in the office too, or virtually in the office, is talking about all the things to help us be better in our work from home space. And we even made a video. We asked people to send in little video clips of their space, and we got submissions from all over the world. It was really, really cool.
I would add to that, as we chose to be video on, we asked our customers to join us in that journey. And, we meet with our customers remotely all the time as a normal course of business, but we did most of that over conference calls. So we did it over the phone previously. Zoom existed. I don't know why we didn't leverage it. And so because we were video on as a company, we invited our customers to join us. And we've had that same intimacy and relationship building happen with our customers. I spoke to a senior vice president and CIO at a company. He's based in France. And, he and I were having a very serious conversation about business expansion, and he is in his bedroom and I'm in my bedroom, and his cat walked by while we were talking, and we just had a different kind of a conversation because of that. And so I think for me, that's been the most pleasant surprise.
Very good.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question. What's the one thing we will not do the next time around? What were lessons we learned on what not to do? I would say one is that the business continuity plan team basically has been working 2 jobs throughout this. We still have our own goals to do. And I would say early on, we just all worked much, much harder and much, much faster to try to do both. And I think there came a point at which we all had to stop and say, we're breaking down. we need to go relax, or else we're going to not function. And that has pretty significant impacts to the rest of the team. I would also say we've had to adjust a little bit around how many meetings we have. So we all dispersed, and then suddenly we tried to create as much connection as possible. And so we've had some interesting discussions just this week about how do we roll that back a little bit, have a little bit fewer meetings so that we can be productive in our work. So keeping in mind, I think what I'm trying to say, keep in mind, it's really intensive to roll through an incident. It's very high stress, and at some point you've got to go sleep, you've got to eat, you've got to just take a break. So I would say we probably didn't do that in weeks 1 or 2.
Good input. We've got room for another question or so, perhaps. You guys are reminding me when I was cutting my teeth in human resources, I had not only HR, but environmental health and safety. And this was back in the 90s, so I'm dating myself. But we as a company, and I won't name the company, a very large global company, embraced DuPont's STOP program, which was a behavioral-based safety program. And what DuPont is known for, of course, and carpets and polyesters and wovens, also became known for their behavioral-based safety program, and they packaged it and got it into the marketplace. You guys are certainly impressive as business continuity plan practitioners and consultants. So I don't know if that's crossed your mind, but I see some similarity there. So.
Well, we certainly will take that as a compliment, Bo. Certainly I think our boss would be pretty proud of us. He has a very strong thought process along these lines. And I think Ali and our team has just demonstrated leadership here. So we've just been humbled and grateful for our ability to move our folks safely to home and keep our business operating and learn quickly along the way. So we appreciate the opportunity you gave us today to share some of those learnings.
Been amazing. So many times when we well engineer products and services, we forget to well engineer the people side. And I'm just so thankful and impressed to hear that you engineered that in well as well.
Thank you both.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all, Beth, Melissa, Ali. Great conversation today. You guys are making Human Capital Matters more valuable. This will be recorded on YouTube here in a couple of days. Thank our staff here, Lauren and Evan, Sheila, Chris, for making this possible. And we're going to sign off and wish everyone a great and happy and safe Memorial Day weekend.